You're listening to Southern Rumble, a college football podcast covering the SEC from the heart of the South, Birmingham, Alabama. Now, here's Griffin Gum and Jacob German.
This is the Southern Rumble podcast. It is August 12th, just a couple weeks out from the college football season kicking off. We will be previewing the University of Kentucky and Mississippi State Bulldogs coming off a very nice year, and Kentucky looking to make a bowl game for the first time since 2010. Mark Stoops in his third year as head coach. He's got a new offensive coordinator this year. Shannon Dawson comes over from West Virginia, the old air raid, bringing that air raid from West Virginia to Kentucky, the style of offense that Stoops and his crew run. DJ Elliott, the defensive coordinator in his third year. I mentioned this earlier. They haven't made a bowl game since 2010. But I think this is the year that they get back to one. They just got to get to 6 wins. Remember, they started out 5-1 last year before losing their last 6 games. So got off to a really, really nice start and even had a chance to go 6-0. That game at Florida, triple overtime game, barely lost.
That was awesome.
This is the Southern Rumble podcast, and we have a special guest for you all today, Jeb Blazevich, tight end at the University of Georgia.
He always stresses that we need to be faster. I think sometimes when we get certain personnel sets, we have to go slower, and that's kind of our intention.
This past weekend really, I think, proved and solidified what we thought about this conference as a whole, really going into the year, that there are some great teams atop of this conference, but there are also some mediocre to really bad teams that bring the conference down. But I want to start with this, and that's that exact game, that Tennessee-Florida game. And it's really on the topic of Butch Jones and leadership and how it translates into not only college football, but also in life. And one of the most important traits to being a leader is boldness. It's all about rejecting passivity. Leading is tough. It's not something you always want to do. It takes guts. We've all known and had great leaders in life, whether it's parents, teachers, coaches. You know, the thing to watch with great leaders is not how that they react when things are going well, but how they react when adversity strikes. And adversity certainly struck in this game this past weekend in a big way for Tennessee. And it really struck 2 weekends ago for them when they were playing Oklahoma. And the Vols blew their second double-digit lead in a 3-game span on the road at Florida, a team that they've now lost to 11 straight years. It's not so much that the Vols blew this game, but it's the way in which they blew it, and it really falls right on the shoulders of Butch Jones. Sure, he made some mistakes, not going for 2 and making it a 14-point game after scoring their final touchdown. Sure, the clock management was absolutely atrocious at the end of the game. What I want to focus on is the way in which it went down, the passive play calling of Butch Jones on the offensive side and on the defensive side. It's not only Butch, but it's also his staff. In the first half, you look at how they got their touchdowns, and they were on trick plays. They ended up getting a trick play for a touchdown to Josh Dobbs, and then a trick play on 4th down that set up a touchdown. So those are 2 massive, gutsy calls by Butch Jones in the first half. But then the second half was a completely different story. It was passive play calling. It was trying to burn the clock by running the ball instead of taking a couple shots at quarterback in 3 really great receivers that Tennessee has that are very underrated. But where was the trick play and aggressive play calling from Butch in the second half? It was non-existent. It was conservative. It was passive. It was playing not to lose. You cannot play like that in this league and expect to win week in and week out. Steve Spurrier, the old ball coach, finally deciding to resign. Yeah, whatever he wants to call it. I get it. He says resign because he may want to do some assistant coaching or something like that down the road. It was an unbelievable career from winning just a ton of games at Duke, then going to Florida. And Florida wasn't any good before he got there. He gets there and has a just outstanding job, wins a national championship, and then goes to South Carolina, another program that had never really done anything, and to turn that program around, have 3 straight seasons of 11+ wins.
Yeah,
was
winning.
phenomenal.
He's the winningest coach at 2 SEC schools.
It's incredible.
The only other coach to do that is, do you know?
I don't.
Bear Bryant.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's
and for Spurrier to do it later in life, like Bear Bryant, it's more understandable back then, seeing as though football wasn't around as long. With football being around much longer, and to do it more current in a more current time frame is pretty remarkable. And Spurrier is certainly going to go down as one of the greats of all time. This is a big, big deal. It's Will Grier being suspended, Florida's quarterback, for performance-enhancing drugs. And now the report is, and what he is saying, is that he took an over-the-counter supplement from like a GNC, or I actually heard he ordered it off of Amazon, which isn't a shock because people do that all the time. And here's the thing about this. He's not the only guy doing this, or he's not the only athlete doing this, is taking these over-the-counter supplements, and many of them, most of them are fine. But the problem with them is not all of them are FDA regulated. Yep. So when that's the case, they can put whatever they want into these supplements, and even if there's just one little thing that's in that supplement that may show up on a drug test and could end up harming you, and that looks like it was the case with Will Grier, as far as taking an over-the-counter supplement. There was something small in there that came up positive on a drug test, and now he's out for an entire year because of it.
And we got to remember, that'll be the first, 6 games of the next year?
Exactly. But I got to say, it feels a little different than previous years. It feels like there is that the seat's hotter than it has ever been before for Mark Richt. But I'm gonna defend him with this and say, when you lose your definitively best player on your team, you have no quarterback, the most important position on the field, and you're still 5-3 with a chance to finish up with a pretty decent year. It's not atrocious, but for Georgia's standards, for their fans, and now for the boosters who are starting to turn on Mark Richt, this could be the end of a nice long journey in career at the University of Georgia. And Pinkel also announced this week that he is going to resign at the end of the year. But I want to talk about really what he's done in his career and how remarkable it has been. He's the all-time wins leader at 2 universities, both Toledo and Missouri. And not too many coaches can say that. There are only a couple, and he is one of them. So very remarkable there. He was 73-37 at the University of Toledo, which has now really turned into a nice football program. They're 9-1 this year. And Gary Pinkel really had a lot to do with that program taking off and having the success that it has thus far. He was 118-71 up to this point at the University of Missouri. And what he did at Missouri was pretty remarkable. To have some success in the Big 12, and then to find out in 2012 that they're going to move to the SEC. Now, their first year in the SEC, 2012, was pretty tough. I think they went 5-7. After that, 2013 and 2014, they went back-to-back division titles, coming into the daunting, brutal, tough SEC conference that had just won 8 straight national championships. And to come in and immediately really dominate the way that they did, and to win an East Division title in back-to-back years is unbelievable. We'll be back next week to do it all again, recap it. Hope you enjoyed it. This has been the Southern Rumble Podcast.